Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, saying glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Wakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Ba'ashem, and the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. The logical tongue, and I say Barakathon to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the Russia versus Ukraine news updates as of April the 7th, 2026 on this Tuesday night. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See, that should be not shown for all these things must first come to pass, but it's not yet. Right, so these wars and rumors of wars are the tensions heating up between Russia and Ukraine, ever since that February of 2022 of that mission, that operation mission that Russia were invading Ukraine, ever since February of 2022 and all the way into now, tensions have been heating up between Russia and Ukraine because they only had one ceasefire, and then it didn't last that long. So ever since then, tensions been heating up between Russia and Ukraine. So I just want to add a side note to that. And this is Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we see in Russia versus Ukraine. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. This goes into ethnos. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, and verse 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth from all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed for all sorts. Yahweh says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth from all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company of shields, all of them handling swords. Right, because Russia. This is the prophet Ezekiel was mentioned that the Heavenly Father is going to continue to put the hooks in back in jaws. And the Russians, which represents the bear of the Russians. And this is a news article from the New York Times. And it reads, it says Ukraine ramp up attacks on Russian oil aiming to curb Iran war windfall. Now, even though we just know Trump just made that announcement that Iran and the United States agreed to a ceasefire that's gonna have pause on strikes on both sides for 2 weeks. But till then, we got now we set our focus on the Russia-Ukraine situation once again. Because that's been the main focus, especially for this last month and a half, almost close to 2 months. It tends to be between Iran and the United States. Now they got this 2-week ceasefire, and these taxes on pause until this 2-week ceasefire. Now we got our sights focused back again between the Russia-Ukraine situation. As I add a side note to that, and this is as I mentioned again, this is from the New York Times, and this is a news update from the Russia versus Ukraine news update as of April the 7th, 2026, on this Tuesday night. It says Ukraine ramp up attacks on Russian oil, amending the curb the Iran war windfall, as the Persian Gulf conflict boosts the oil revenue that financed Moscow war against Ukraine. Kyiv's forces are striking Russia's ability to refine and ship is cruel. It says aerial drone attacks forces a major Russian oil terminal to halt operations. The sea drones damaging tanks linked to Moscow strikes, igniting refinery across western Russia as Moscow benefits from its soaring oil prices and the easing of the U.S. sanctions. As a result of the war in Iran, Ukraine is trying to offset the windfall by escalating strikes on Russian oil assets. Experts describe the campaign unprecedented in scale, and with Ukraine claiming responsibility for 10 attacks in the last month. It says, though the true numbers is probably higher. It says the most significant strikes has hit Russia's Baltic, Baltic ports and the UST Luska and Promorsk, which has roughly 40% of the country's seaborne crude exports. It says local authorities reported damages in both ports and have number of tankers loading oil. Theirs has plummeted, according to the analysis of trading activities by the Bloomberg. Kavaliv calculations is simple, and every barrel of Russian oil that cannot be exported in money Moscow cannot spend on war. In a statement, Ukraine Defense Ministry described the coordinated precision strikes aims at depriving Kremlin of billions of dollars that are directly converted into missiles and ammunition. It says the reality is more complicated energy, and analysts say that because Russian tax oil extracting not oil sales, that means striking ports and tank hurts companies and selling shifting the oil could have leave the government revenues nearly intact, cutting Russian oil exports and also risking driving global prices higher by straining an oil market already squeezed by Iran's blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, which they about to reopen it now since they got to that 2 week ceasefire. It says Russia's tax on oil extract is tied to the market price, so higher the prices equal higher government revenues. It's clearly a trade-off. Damien Ernest, the energy expert of the professional at the University of Lingen in Belgium, it said in an interview, strike on Russian ports reduce export volumes, but less volume leads to increasing its price. Get to that Luke 21 and verse 10. It's the book of Luke 21 and verse 10, right? It says things to come. Then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we're seeing. And this is Matthew 24 verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Yep. So as it says again, Ukraine ramps up attacks on Russian oil aiming to curb the Iran war windfall. So I want to bring out another news article about Russia part. Yep, it says from PBS, Russia attacks kills 4 and overnight as Ukrainian drones targets oil infrastructures. 4 days ago, it says Russia launched a relentless drone missile strikes on Ukraine. It says even though this was like 5 days ago, this is over 400 Russian drones detached in a Ukraine's airspace during a massive attack. Between 10 o'clock and 11 a.m. local time, Russia launched a missile of series of missiles and drone strikes against Oblast, killing. Yep. So it was This is from Yahoo. Ukraine Air Forces said Moscow launched 948 drones and 34 missiles in the countries on March the 24th. So even though even though this was like a couple of weeks ago, but this this is still recent, still recently though. Yup, it says from Daily Set Battle, published 5 days ago. It says Russia launched a relentless drones and missile strikes on Ukraine. Over the past 24 hours, more than 400 drones, long-range drones, and 10 ballistic missiles hit the areas near the front line in the bombardment. Yep, so these tensions are already heating up between Russia and Ukraine. With this oil war and nuclear war between Russia and Ukraine heating up on a day-to-day basis. And this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, in verse 4, then I'm closing out. It says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great cup and buckler and shields. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of the Russia versus Ukraine news updates as of April the 7th, 2026, on this Tuesday night. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar and the Heavenly Father, true names Yahweh and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahushai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew of the Lashkudash, the Holy Tongue. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf. Until next time, I would say Shalom.